Hello and welcome back to Encarteraux. In this video I will show you how I built the next module of the street. You will see that it changes the look of the model dramatically. Maybe you have already seen my Instagram post and know that I published a city map on my website, so we will explore this marvelous map a little bit. And then I want to show you the first steps towards the creation of the first house of Encarteraux. So let's get started. The first step in building a module, right after finishing the design, is building the base. Even in Papercraft it isn't wise to start from the roof. Streets don't have a roof? Oh well. For this module I needed 72 of the base cubes that you have already seen me build several times, and while I quite enjoy building the cubes, because it's quite meditative, I thought that for you it might be boring to watch me folding and gluing more than 70 cubes. So I will skip that part and just show you the result instead. Within the base of this module is hidden the next part of the tunnel that starts from the main line. The entrance is in the retaining wall of the main line, the main line being the train line in front of the street. The tunnel leads to a room, and in the center of this room is a hole in the ground. I added a blinking LED in it, and I still don't know what this tunnel is meant to be, so if you have any idea, tell me in the comments. On the top of the base I added the street, the sidewalks and the lanterns, just like the other two modules, so no surprises here. But the big surprise I had was when I got the first look at the street once I added the finished module to the other ones. It makes a huge difference. It looks so much more like a street now. I was really stumped that this small piece of street could change the scenery so much. I think I know why the difference is so big. With the third module the street is finally longer than its width, so it looks like a street. At least like what I think a street is supposed to look. This part of the street is finished. Up next is building the first house of Encarteraux. But before we get to that, let me show you something else. It's really hard to plan a whole town and its surroundings without any visual aid. This is why one part of my planning process for Encarteraux is a simple map of the city. It helps me get a good overview and decide on the placing of streets, train lines, houses and all the other stuff. And since I already had a map, well, at least a little bit of it, I decided to make it prettier and to publish it on my website. The map shows what is already built, and it gives you a glimpse into the future, because I use it for planning, so it will always show how the city will grow. And talking about future, the map is meant to be a living artifact. This means that I will be changing and updating it regularly. But now let me show you the map in detail. On the top left you can see the logo and the description of the icons I use on the map. You can zoom in and out with the mouse wheel and move the map by dragging it while holding the left mouse button. When we move more to the center of the map you can see the train tracks. I decided to call them main line. On top or to the north of that is the street, whose third module I just finished. The street is called Rue des Chargeurs. In the Rue des Chargeurs I already delineated the first house. To the left I added a new street and called it Rue de Castellane. To the south it crosses the main line and maybe it will disappear in a tunnel. The west of the city could be mountains with smaller buildings and maybe a castle. I'm thinking of a medieval town. And the east of Encarteraux could be flatter with a train station and other bigger buildings, maybe with some kind of industrial complex. To the south I want to add a bay with a landing stage, a fisher boat and a lighthouse. I have many ideas for the future of Encarteraux, and I will expand the map gradually so that you can track the evolution of the city. In the future I will make the map more interactive. For example, I want to make it so that a click on a part of the map triggers additional information, anecdotes or even behind the scenes stories about its creation. But since I'm not only designing a map but building the whole town out of paper, let's crack on and build a house. Some time ago I started designing the first house for the city. At the beginning I made the building without an interior. This meant that the windows would have been made out of blue paper and you couldn't look inside. But I didn't like that, so I decided to also create an interior. With that came another challenge. If you can look in the building, you need to add furniture and carpets and everything else that can be found inside the house. This would be really difficult to add if the houses were made out of one piece. So I decided to build each floor for itself and make them stackable. To test this idea, I made the first prototype, 2 simple parts of a house. They are not to scale because that wasn't relevant for this test. The results of this test were mixed. I proved that it would work to stack the floors like I thought, but I also noticed that the walls were really crooked. It is almost impossible to glue them together properly. Some kind of support is needed to keep the paper from warping while I apply pressure to get the glue to stick. Luckily, I already know how to stabilize large paper surfaces. I used a similar technique for the retaining wall of the main line and the street. But to make sure that it would work before wasting any of the colored paper, I made another prototype out of white paper by building the first floor of the house. Now I have a way of building houses with walls that are straight enough and the floors can be stacked nicely. The next step is to add the missing details and then finally start building the house. There's a unique thrill in seeing my vision materialize, transforming flat sheets of paper into a 3-dimensional masterpiece. The excitement of finishing a module is like unlocking a new level in a game, a sense of achievement that fuels the desire to tackle the next challenge. This is the last video for this year, at least for everybody using the Gregorian calendar, but I have huge plans for next year, so there's much more to come. If you liked this video, please hit the like button and consider subscribing to my channel. Thank you for watching and I will see you in the next one.